Item number 1, Stevens Path Charge, did we pick a date?
We did pick a date, you know, I don't know if you want me involved with it, but if you wanna put the date on it, I mean, you said you had Dave up there and, you know, volunteers, if that's easy for you, because, I got a lot going on and I don't know really way you wanna handle it. I mean, we had 4D look at it, if you still.
Well, we decided it was too expensive to have 4 days, right?
Okay,
So
all right.
that was at the last meeting.
I didn't pick a date on the fact, because I've been on every single weekend. And if I haven't been here, you know, I haven't been here on the weekends, it's just because it's just, a lot's changed in the past 6 months. I'm taking on a second job and my weekends and family obligation. So, I mean, if that's up to you, I mean, you're dealing with Dave, and as far as volunteers, I mean, if you have a volunteer list, I've been asking, trying to get people up there, but it's just, you know, I'm trying to revitalize people volunteering, but it's not easy. I don't know if you have a list of people as far as emails that we were using beforehand, anything to get the ball rolling with it?
We want to do April 21st, since Earth Day is on the 22nd. Could you clean up at
What
the
is
same
that?
time?
Is that the cleanup day? Why don't we could probably merge it with cleanup day.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That'd be
thinking.
awesome, because you get a lot of people, you get people out for that.
Mhm.
If you think, okay, whatever you guys think would make it work. I just hate to see getting dragged on so long. And I always spoke to Tom about it, you know, and he explained what I want to do. He says it would probably take me just as long to build something like that, just to get 3 people just to do the work and stuff.
Does anybody have a metal garbage can?
Metal?
You don't see them too much anymore, but I think they still sell them.
They still some days, so.
I moved a lot of, every couple of years I have to get some gravel from it. And I have a hand truck, and you can fill up the gravel thing. It's good, heavy, commercial hand truck. And bring it to wherever I want it to, and then you just dump it, so you're not really carrying it. And you can go downstairs with it. And I'm thinking, you know, if we did that and took turns doing it, we can move a lot of that stone without lugging 2 buckets at a time.
Yeah, or, you know, a wheelbarrow, if it's not filled all the way, we probably could go down the stairs with the big, I mean, we have the ability to do this.
Yeah.
It's moving around.
That's what I said. I did.
The Egyptians built pyramids.
That's right.
We have the date, that's the important thing. We'll start getting the word out.
So it's what? April-
April 21st, and we'll make that cleanup day too. Okay, Walnut Beach prices on.
Yeah, I spoke to Tom from 4D. I got a proposal right here as far as what needs to be done to remove the stone. If you guys want to make a copy of this, or if you want to just pass it around. Pretty much what he says, that the stone, it's got to be scraped up. You know, be probably 2 or 3 inches deep. He's got the bob cap. He needs the crew of 3 guys. He said that you probably want any topsoil if you aerate it. It's really not necessary. The only problem with the stuff is that it's you know, it compacts. That's why there's water runoff, and it's really made for like a road bedding. So that's, you know, when it hardens up, because it is a lot of concrete dust. That's why it's so difficult to move. And he said there's no guarantee that all the stone will be removed, because it is compacted down, because it's been driven on. It's been sitting there for a couple of years. They'll do the best they can, and they can fan it out. They said there might be a little bit of stone here and there, and then they'll put the grass seed down. So this is what the proposal is for $26.75. He says he'll prorate it. He says that's for a day. If it takes longer, he's not going to charge extra. If it takes less, he'll prorate it to adjust the price.
I think that's a lot of money, so grassing for people to just
Yeah, I
drive
mean,
on
listen,
it.
you know what, it comes back to it, really, you know, you want to get the stone down there, and, you know, when we're looking at it, he goes, there's a big elevation grade, or there's a big difference in elevation between the parking lot and this goes back to the original, what we talked about, between the road and the parking lot itself. So, I mean, you said you want to get stone, I asked people if they want to grass back, that's really where we start off this whole thing. You know, it comes down to what you guys want to do. I mean, if you just want to get some stone.
Well,
put
even
in
if it's
front of
grass,
them.
people in the summer are gonna park on it like they used to, right?
Well, the only time they're down there is Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July. I mean, you're on a busy weekend. They're still gonna, you know, it does increase the parking. It's just parking on grass. You know, like I said, it comes down to what.
I think it's
you think it's feasible?
to change the
So then just leave it the way it is.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, just to put this thing to bed. That's that.
Maybe as we go further with what we hope to happen down at the beach, then maybe that becomes part of the overall renovation of the beach.
Mhm. That's, yeah. Mhm.
There's not, you know, Jeff, we were down there, we were talking about like the wetlands. I just didn't, you know, if we were gonna do something like this, and I just called the DEC just to make sure that there was nothing that that as far as opposing to the wetland, and, because it is considered marsh, but they said that it is mapped as a wetland. And they said that anything that's gotta be done within 300 feet from the tide mark back has to be gone through them. So I was, I was a little apprehensive about doing anything because of the fact that, I said, well, there's stuff there now, it's RCA. They're not really happy about that, but it's there, it's not a big deal. He says that we can write a letter, he gave me an application, I'll write a letter saying that it's okay that the stuff is there. If we wanna put more stuff down, we're gonna have to file a permit, but it's pretty much just really, an okay to do it.
Okay,
more or
so
less.
you're incorrect in what you're saying, so we're
What's
gonna
that?
clarify that. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, so the material standard is not RCA, it's stone. So you referenced concrete dust before, it's actually stone dust or rock flour. So it's
If
a
it was
natural
concrete,
material,
you'd have
so it
brick.
doesn't, no, that's what we covered up on top of. That's what was placed in 2010. The reason we put that down was to cover on top of what had been put there before, which was an ugly RCA mix that had a lot of
Alright,
debris in it.
Alright, because like I was just saying to Tom, I said, should we replace with this? He goes, usually put down pebble stone, or you put
Yeah,
down.
we put
bluestone?
down, it's crushed rock.
Okay, well, yeah,
No, it's not,
like I
it's
said,
not
he was
bluestone,
just,
it's
I was
crushed
just
rock.
like, should we
It's
replace it with
schistose
this?
rock, so it comes, it's a Manhattan schist.
Yeah, but he asked me, well, what are you gonna put it down with? They said, well, I don't know, at this point, it really comes down to money.
Right, but
So-
you're 300 feet from the tidal mark, okay? The tidal
Right.
mark is all the way back at the beach. So the area itself is the map wetland, so Jeff and I have been talking about
Okay.
doing some things with the wetland.
Right, we
And-
had a
and-
conversation.
Right, we would do something, we'd have to involve the DEC with whatever
Right.
we do, so. But the parking lot's outside of the DEC's purview from a distance to the wetlands and from a distance to the tidal water.
Okay, like I said, I just didn't wanna do something, the next thing you get the village, and, for doing anything around it. I spoke to an old neighbor from a while back, and that's why they never really went anything dealing with it, because it was a wetland. I mean, a lot of stuff has been dying there because, just the water runoff, I don't know, it's not the same as it was 10 years ago.
It doesn't drain, it never
The
really
only
drains.
drain
so
now
you
is just
get-
going right to the beach, and it's, that's where we're getting those troughs going down into the water, which is sad, because that's eroding the beach now too, so. But like I said, I just, I had Tom in, he says, what do you wanna put down, and if you wanna put anything down? I said, well, what's this? That's why I was saying.
Right, but nothing
he said
from the
it was
parking lot
RCA.
erodes down into the beach. I don't understand what you're saying with that.
Because it's compacted, the water from the parking lot's going down into the street and then it's going down to the beach.
Right, but
because
it's
not
designed to
resting.
dissipate the energy of the water. The reason you use a 3/4 inch material is so that the water that comes off the hill and the water that comes into the
Right.
parking lot hits each individual, piece of material and
Okay.
slows the energy down. So it's
I
actually
gotcha.
there to actually correct the problem that was created when we had grass there that didn't drain and actually did create troughs. And then,
Okay.
of course, with the grass, you have to maintain it, and there's a cost associated with that as well.
Alright, I'm just repeating what he told me, that's pretty much, we'll get you guys on, if you guys think that it's, forget it and just keep it the way it is, because he asked me to order stone for it, and I was just trying to save it by ordering more stone and, maybe conserving it, but it's just way too much money to move all that stone out of there, so that's out. So here's the proposal if anybody wants it.
Okay, next item, trees.
Yeah, I got the final proposal from North Shore Tree, he was one of the people that responded.
So we have 3 companies?
Yes, from Jim Dublar. He was very informative. Actually, it was a big, it was a learning experience having a conversation. He came over and he didn't even want to go through the village because he says just by the list that I gave him, and I understand what he was talking about now. He says you have to go through it, mark the trees, and find out what's going on. And he says, John, this is just a sample. This is from the Village of Westbury. He says, John, he goes, if you're gonna look at a proposal, this is what you do. This is from the Village of Westbury. This is where the GI report comes in, the survey of everything. And he says, and if you look through it, you guys can take a look and see what's going on with this, because there's a lot of information. This is where I understand now where the GI report comes in, of the stuff that needs to be taken care of.
But that's not what your list was. Your list was a list of trees that might cause problems during the
Right,
snowstorm.
I did have that, but I couldn't even get that. He says, I'm not gonna waste my time going through this. He goes, if
Okay,
you're
so
gonna
did you
GI
ask
report.
other people for prices?
Those are just the 3 companies that we got, that came back, that were on the bid.
So what were
That you
the
gave to
3
me.
companies?
North Shore, Doherty, and Aronica. And he has the 2 of the 3. But, there was a lot of things that, I went
Do you
through.
have them, Jeff? No, I didn't think so, because, all right.
Well, you sent me an email with the 3 companies. No, well, you give the 2. Doherty sent it over
Nobody
and,
sent me a price. Nobody sent me a price. That's what I told you last month. I didn't get a price from Doherty or
They said, those are in my hands, they said they sent them off to you.
Okay, just have them resend them.
That's fine,
If
but,
they resend them by email to you, then you can just forward them all to us.
okay, but there's just something, I think, you know, you were talking about, I spoke to Roger, I spoke to Mike Schaefer, and as far as which trees need to be touched,
If we wait for Roger to work on this project, he's been working on it for a year and a half now, so I was gonna wait till the spring for him to come back with a report of where
That's-
they're at.
well, I
But
just-
I don't think they've done anything since we got.
Well,
the
things kinda
report
get
last
sidelined with
December.
everything else that's going on, but at the same time, you know, I think this is something really you need to consider, because the money that was used from the grant, the GR report, that's really coincides with this. This is more or less a foundation of what he was asking for. He says, you know, he says, John, he says, I can come through and just keep my guys busy for 2 days. He says, but, he says, if you have the report, he says, well, what goes where? So when Roger says, John, he goes, what it comes down to, which trees can we touch, which can't we? So, he says, the report doesn't tell you that. He goes, he says to me that every single time, every tree's got to be marked, which is fine, it has to be walked out. But then again, he says, the report isn't really definite on which trees are in the village and which residences. That's where it comes down to. I mean, I said this before, and it's kind of like we're going in a circle with it.
Mhm.
You know, Jim was also mentioning, he says, you know, a good thing we do is get a consultant to come through and use that report that we have and go through it. That costs money though, it's not cheap, but you're documenting every tree and you can find out the health of every tree.
But that's what the report did, that's what the GE.
It didn't do that. That's where when I spoke to Roger, he says, no, it doesn't do that. It tells you the location. All it did was it just documented the trees, what they were. It gave something,
It gave us trees
a little bit of a-
it gave us trees that needed to be removed that were in Trustees Park or down at the bay, things that they felt
Okay.
were not healthy trees or that would be taking over the property.
Okay.
So it did do that.
so we already have that list then why was I going through it again?
I don't know. I don't have any idea why you were going through it.
You
You were
told
just
me-
going to look to see what trees might.
No, I did. Well, my point being is that I went through the 2 companies. They just like, oh yeah, okay, that could cleaned up. If you want to have 2 people come in and just do 2 days worth of work and just clean everything up, you could do that. What I understand is what, you know,
Okay, what the assignment was is that we were going to just go through the village and take any trees that might cause a problem if there was a storm. That was
Okay.
back in September. It's now February, storms have
understand.
come and gone. So really, this could get done in the spring at this point now,
No, I
because we
understand.
were lucky enough, we haven't lost any power.
no, I understand that. But, you know, when we have this report, then I don't understand, you know, we were supposed to go through this with Roger and Michael.
Well, I know Mike
We
was
were-
on the
that was-
committee, but Roger
well,
is the head of the committee, yes.
Right, and, you know, I explained, I said, well, what's going on with this? And I explained to him what I see, he says, well, you're pretty much on point with that. As far as, you know, you can have 3 different companies come through and give you 3 different prices, but they all talk about the same exact thing. If you're gonna give a proposal about having tree work done, you need a scope of work, and that's pretty much what this
If
was.
we hand them that report from GEI, that's gonna be $1 million worth of tree work, okay? At least, maybe $1.5 million.
It's just, I know, but,
Okay, we
I
were
don't know
just
if that's-
going to trim the lines so that we didn't have any problems
but
during
that
the
comes in, is that
storm.
Leica's responsibility, or what trees?
We did all that in the spring, we had them out here, we had them do what they had to do. We still had a couple of trees, you're the one who said, this tree might take down this wire, this one might take this one. We just needed them marked so we could get a price, that's it.
I don't know if you understand me. What trees the
I'm not
villages, which-
understanding you, because I don't.
Which trees in the villages, which ones are residences,
Can I
that's
jump
what I'm
in
trying to
here,
say. I just, because I'm running in circles
You're
here.
mixing up 2 different things.
Mhm.
This was a major project that went around and identified a
Right,
ton of trees that were potentially a problem.
okay.
And if all of our heads rolled when we
Right.
looked at that, it's not something that has a lot of use in the short run. In the long run, we have to consider how this is gonna play out in terms of disease and all that.
Okay.
But every year, we identify a couple of trees that could be a problem when we have the bad weather.
I understand that.
And
I'm
what we wanted you to do was to just, and Mike, I thought already did this, I didn't spoke to him. You go around this and you find, these are just a couple of trees. It's not a big project in terms of how much we have to pay for it, because there's a couple of trees that are looking bad, maybe even identified in there as being diseased, but they're near a power line. If they go down, it's gonna block Washington Street or Van Brunt or something, and everybody's stuck. So we wanted to be able to, before the storm season, we wanted to be able to go in and hit these trees, because it greatly reduces the problem for the village if
I
we do
understand.
have these problems. So all we needed was, and we don't want 1 million trees, because we can't afford to take out 1 million trees. So that report is not a lot of help. All we want is a few trees that we can afford to attend to. Trim, take down, do whatever's necessary so that we don't lose power.
Okay, the list that I came up with, I mean, it's just not even just the trees, there's just dead branches all over the place that need to be, like I said, Jim said I can come here with two trucks, or, have my guys busy for 2 days. He goes, is the way to approach it, but if you guys are completely out on that, okay, but I didn't wanna put my name on it saying, well, I came through and
Did
it's
these
already
three
trickled
companies
down.
look at the same exact trees and give us a price for the same
Yes.
exact trees? That's what we
But
need.
Jim did not do this because he says, I'm not gonna waste my time. He says,
Then
that's
just
not
pick
the way
another
to-"
company.
That's fine, but
Okay.
the companies that I called were the ones that I received the email that I received from you.
I gave you names of.
Right, the three that,
four of
that
them.
answered for the bid? You said that
Nobody
they, did you put it, well, the three names that you said that, okay, so those are the three that I used.
Yeah, we didn't work, that didn't work for us before, so I gave you.
Okay, well, Harry gave me, I still have the number that you gave me from the.
It was the cheapest all around.
Yeah, so just
Okay,
call
all
them,
right.
have them email you the bids and just send it to us by email, okay?
Alright, I'll call both companies tonight, and,
Send it in to my email.
I don't understand why I don't have it, because Jim said he stopped by here and he dropped it off, and,
I didn't get it.
because it was before a meeting last month, so,
Did not
okay,
get it.
alright, that's fine.
No, we really did not get it.
Okay, the fire pit, Bill is going to work with a couple of families to find a good location down there, and he's just waiting for the weather to get warm. So that was his update, but I'm gonna keep this on for March. 5, Chris, do you wanna talk about the changes that we made or we're going to make to the, well, did you put the changes in, Joe, with the second one that you
Yes,
put down?
Sukkot, we had the meeting, we had changes, we're basically dealing with the firearms from the last meeting. Did everybody get this today, or could I circle it?
No, oh, you brought it with you?
Yeah.
Okay. I sent the email. I had my copy, but that's it.
So what this does, I made the change regarding the firearms, so you can, I took out the prohibition against possessing a firearm.
Okay.
You just can't discharge it. And, but then, there was a recommendation from,
Right.
security regarding the use of the ramp. And that's on page
That's
3
right there, yeah.
in C. Page 3 in C, which is the use of the boat ramp. So basically, nobody, no non-resident can use the boat ramp. So we can't tell people that they can't go to the park. We can't tell non-residents that they can't pass through the park or sit, they can't park there because the parking's restricted. But we can tell them that they cannot use the boat ramp either to launch or to land.
Okay.
So this came from, I got this request to put this in, and I added it in.
Should we be putting that in also for the dock?
We could put it also in I can add another paragraph, but then, I could just add in dock,
Okay.
yes.
Joe, I know that what you're saying is true, but we have some signs here in Trustees Park, and I don't know if they're elsewhere in the village, that when you go in on either side, it says residents only. And I cringe every time I see that, because we can't say that, it's against the law. Do we need to change those signs? I mean, it's related to what you're talking about here.
I think
We don't want to,
like the general presence or use in a park, general presence or walking through a park is something that's open to the public, meaning the entire public. The use of improvements in a park that the village spend money for, I think it can be limited to residents. But to be able to walk into Trustees Park, I think basically could be the general public. So I don't know what the sign, I'll take a look at the sign and see if I think that it should be changed. I'd be happy to do it.
Okay, so I think that covers everything that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so I'll put it on to approve it.
The only other thing was we had a bit of a discussion about the firing or discharging of firearm, or the possession or firing of a slingshot, rocket, torpedo, or fireworks, and that brought some energy in the last meeting. Is that something that needs to be, does that need to be in there as such, or?
It's up to you, I mean, so people were complaining because they can get a license for a firearm, which they said supersedes anything that we
It's
can do.
not so much the firearm, it's just, I thought the word torpedo had caused
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
issues. Is that necessary to be in there?
No.
People wondered why a torpedo would be an issue.
I'll take torpedo.
Okay, so gas service, National Grid to bring gas service onto the side of the village. We have 42 people that currently are interested in gas, some kind of gas service, so I've sent that over to National Grid and.
43.
43 now, okay, and, they are gonna let me know what the next steps are, and I think the next step is they'll contact those people on the list and then start getting applications together.
I had called,
Valerie.
I said, I expressed some concern, I wasn't happy that the meeting was canceled for last minute. I expressed some concern that there were two lists, and apparently there weren't two lists, but now they're, and she said she was gonna contact you regarding their.
I have the list now.
But they also, she wanted to have their contact information.
Yes, I sent all that to her.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but in talking to her, we said, I think the threshold has been passed, so that's a good thing. If everybody follows through on it, but maybe they're not, but we're close enough. I said, I was looking forward to that meeting, because I think it would be informational, and it wouldn't just be for people who, yes, I definitely want to do it, because some people might be on the fence, they want to know what the costs are, they want to know what the process is. and-
I think the reason she wanted the emails is to schedule a meeting, and that's where she'll start. She'll discuss it, take questions, and give out applications at the same time.
Okay, so what I said was, because I was afraid that, once again, we would have it in here, and then, because she said, it takes a whole month, because she doesn't know it, it's somebody else who does it. And I said, well, we usually use the library. She says, well, actually, she had wanted to use the library initially, and talking to you about it, somehow wound up that this was better. But it seems to me if we're up at that level, and I would hope that we're going to send out a blast to everybody, inviting whoever lives in those cities, if they're at all interested, if they're just curious about what it'll be, to invite people to come down there. And we would very easily outstrip the capacity of this room. So I said, well, I'll get involved. I would be happy to do it. I have the time to do it, is to just coordinate that in some way. But I would like to be able to really invite a lot more people than we think, because a certain amount of people aren't going to be aboard on this.
Right.
Keeps getting back and back and back, kicked back.
Yeah, we
I
can
think
rent
it's-
out the library to do it, and that's what we'll do, is we'll see what the library is available, and then she could see what date
That's what
works best.
that's what I said. She said that they don't do it on Mondays or Fridays.
Okay.
So it'd have to be a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they need at least 4 weeks' notice. So on those days, that far in advance, we should have no problem getting a library. So I said, well, we'll get a couple of different potential dates, reserve them, and then we'll talk to her, and she will check, and we'll get it all set up, and then we'll have it at the.
Okay, good.
So I'll do that. I'm gonna go down the library.
Yep.
4 weeks from when?
You could pick anything in March or April. It might be best to do like the last week of March or the first week of April, and because we're gonna probably have a couple of meetings in March with the budget and stuff. Okay, 7, we already covered. Did you want to discuss, and then we have Joe here now, about the stop sign being covered?
I do. I was surprised coming up the hill after it was done. And one of the reasons that we had that discussion after last winter was because, in fact, I remember who it was Angie Poquott had brought it up. That she said it was very confusing because coming out of Walnut, people didn't, and there was a couple of other people who said yes, they didn't like the idea. And initially, if you recall, we had done that because there was, I think, a couple, but one person in particular did not want to, was against the stop signs, and the reason was because when it got very icy, to stop and restart was gonna be a problem for her. So I thought it was a nice concession, but then we would revisit it. At the end of the season, what we said was that it really was more confusing than anything. And then just the other day, it happened to me. I was behind a car going up towards that stop sign, and the person in front of me stopped, and there was another car from Walnut, and they both stayed there because they didn't know who was supposed to go, and the other one was waving them on because they no longer had a stop sign. But anyway, long story short, 99% of the time we don't have a snowy, icy condition. And meantime, we don't have the stop sign that was designed to slow down the traffic going uphill. If you recall, Frank and John said that surprisingly, the acceleration was uphill. And that was, we really needed that. And I just think that for really one person to have this going on, and as far as I know, no other municipality does this. It's like a very strange thing.
Well, we got complaints again this year, right? Right, Joe?
Right,
From
but I
one
mean,
person.
it's not like this is the only stop
For it or
sign in the
against?
country on the hill.
For,
For covering over the stop sign?
yeah, because they felt it was
If
slippery.
you're going
and they-
anywhere and the conditions are, you learn this in driver ed. If, you know, you slow down, you exercise caution, whatever, if they have to roll through the stop sign, you think they're gonna get a ticket?
Right.
I mean, I think it's a result of the general opposition to putting in the stop sign.
So you think it's unsafe and we should just keep it off?
I think confusion is more unsafe than any occasional slippery condition between how rarely we have a snowstorm and how good our people are who do the roads. It's a very unusual situation where it becomes unsafe. So most of the time, we just have a stop sign, then we don't have a stop sign, and then tonight, it's perfectly dry, it's very nice, but we don't have a stop sign there. So we voted to have a stop sign. I don't know, weigh in on this, what do you think?
I think he agrees with you.
100% in agreement. I didn't want it to be covered this time, actually, so.
Yeah, I think it's confusing for drivers coming off of the side streets onto Washington.
That's what happened,
on
I was
that- on that-
behind them when that happened.
Or it's disconcerting for a person who's expecting a stop sign there and the person just comes blazing up the road with no stop sign.
Yeah.
Usually when that scenario happens, there's a not all sides stop. There's all kinds of indicators saying that don't
Yeah,
expect
yeah,
an
yeah.
oncoming traffic to stop. I think it's a necessary stop sign.
Yeah.
That's a narrow road, and coming out of Birchwood onto Washington, cars, when the stop sign wasn't there, you don't have any visibility coming out of that, out of our
You
road.
can't see until you get down the road, even though the
Right.
stop sign's 10 feet back.
Right.
I just think this is like I said, stop signs in communities all across the country are on hills where it
Hey,
snows.
You know what, the other day I was leaving for work, it was the last snowstorm we had, and I was coming down Walnut, and it was 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, and I mean, I literally slid into Washington, that's only because it was early.
Right.
The guys who came through the plows, but it just, it was it was snowing. And I literally, I slid into Washington, I said, oh, yeah, thank God there was stop signs there, and I said, oh, it's covered up. So either we have it or we don't have it.
Right.
There's no in between. The only times you see a stop sign, you don't see a stop sign is from the school during certain hours.
Right.
That I've seen anyway. But,
So
case-
if we all agree, then the only question is, are we gonna sow more confusion if, before we get past the winter, we then take it off? So, I mean, it's already on there, and whoever, did you put it on? It's a great job, and it really take on there.
No, he didn't.
Anyway, so if we say, oh, we all agree, we're not gonna do this anymore, but
You better go down there with the razor blade
probably
and
at least
shut
wait
it off.
until the last snow or something like that, and then say, we're not gonna do it anymore. But that's the other thing. is that
I'm
we
telling
really-
you, there's not gonna be any more snow.
Very optimistic, but we also need, if we're gonna do this stuff, then we have to put out a blast to everybody and let them know, because you can't just surprise people.
Okay, I can do
But I
that.
think that the answer to all of that is, we just uncover the stop sign, we have a stop sign, you don't have to let people know that all of a sudden we covered it over and there is no stop sign, it's just a stop sign. And people just have to use their good judgment when weather conditions change. It's just the way it is.
Seems to make sense.
So you remove the cover, I'll send out a blast in the morning.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There was not a stop sign there for 73 years and we never had a problem, guys.
Yeah.
Remove the damn
DOT would have
sign,
laughed,
screw it.
imagine if we went to DOT and they would say, well, how many accidents have you had and how many?
None.
Yeah.
I've slid down Cedar onto Washington all the way across into a snowbank on the opposite side. And Cedar has, you just can't stop coming down, really the one that, either Walnut or Cedar, there's no way in hell you're gonna stop. It'll snow.
Okay.
So you might as well get rid of the damn stop sign.
Oh, wait a second.
I wanna get rid of it, period.
No, it has helped with the speed on there. And I think it's overall a good thing. And you're right, occasionally, weather conditions change, and people have to be aware of that, and it does get something, that's just the way
You're
it
not
is.
supposed to use stop signs for snow like that.
Oh, too late, we already did that. All right, let's move on to 9. So, Walnut
What are you gonna
Beach.
do?
We're gonna For what, number 8?
Yeah.
Frank's gonna remove the cover and I'll send out tomorrow morning, and let everyone know.
Well, now, do you want to do it now, or do you want to wait until after the season, because we already did it? That's the question.
What do you think, John?
I think that it should only be there because if there's a safety concern, not for slowing down traffic, and I think that you should just take a position and stick with it. I don't think it's a good idea to keep taking it on or off or off or on. You should just establish a policy and use it for that purpose.
Well, I thought we did, but now that we've covered it over again, the question is, do we take it off, move it off, or wait until after the winter season and then take it off?
That's the question, right?
That's the
Yeah.
question.
So, what is the purpose of having it, what is the purpose of having it as a stop sign?
Because we have four-way stop signs now, that intersection. And part of it was because of the speed, but also, you can't see coming out of the side streets. It was one of those intersections that.
But that safety exists, that situation exists year-round, it's not just during inclement weather.
That's my point, I agree.
So then you should leave it there. If you believe that that's the reason to have a stop sign there, and that reason exists all year, then the stop sign should be there all year.
Okay, so let's remove it then.
Okay.
Okay,
Remove the cover.
cover, yes, okay.
I would vote, I have a vote of the board to do that. Even though it's a work session, just have a vote of the board.
Okay. All in favor of removing the cover? Okay, the budget for 2018-2019, we'll be working on it at the end of the year. Our big project for next year is gonna be Walnut Beach. Now, a few years ago, it was Trustees Park, and we took the money from the other parks, and we put it into Trustees Park. We're gonna do the same thing this year. Bill's working on it with Ed Schmidt, and they get ready. I've met some people down there to move the pole. They asked for some equipment in the budget, like rakes and stuff like that. So, what?
Quad.
I don't, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff going around. So we'll look at that at the end of the month, but basically, that's what we're gonna do for next year's budget. That's where all the parks' money is gonna go to, that park, so. Okay, grants, Suffolk County Program Bill's working with John Klein from Nelson Pope and Boys. They're doing a survey of the village. They've gathered some information together, and they're gonna use that to start applying for some of the county programs, hopefully getting us money that we could use towards Walnut Beach. The Sea Grant, how did that go?
We're still in talks with them. The process, I think we're in a I guess a strange spot, because you have the folks you were just talking about working on the beach. The Sea Grant stuff seems like a bigger job, right? So when we meet with them, they talk about discussing the restoration of the beach, coming up with a plan, and then determining possible funding sources, which would be New York Rising and a variety of the different grants that are out there. But the process is something that we would have to develop. It would take getting a landscape design architect who's familiar with living shorelines to do it, and then get the DEC